Hey guys, Justice Curry. I'm going to be talking a little quiet because I just got my kids to sleep. Got a knife, got a package. Provenance. So why that term kind of, I don't want to cut myself this time, is used is especially in the pre-production. Having a certain piece that maybe is only one of a kind or 10 in existence that's instrumental in the very dawn of a toy line are called prototypes or pre-production pieces. Well, collectors are hesitant because those can be faked and forged and whatnot. So having the story and the provenance behind a piece is important. Today is May 22nd, 2023. About 6 months ago, I picked up the most important piece in my collection. It was a pre-production HEMAN power sword, and it came from my buddy Hatch Tar, and Hatch acquired it from another guy, and I did a whole video on tracking it down to the source. And Hatch had told me he got it from a guy named Nate Mitchell, who worked at Playmates. And I reached out to Nate, and I even did a video with him. This whole thing was on a YouTube video. And Nate goes, yep, I worked at Playmates, I think in the early 2000s. And one of his bosses, co-workers, was a guy named Ted Mayer, M-A-Y-E-R. And Ted is one of the few founding fathers of the Masters of the Universe toy line. He worked on it, and Ted had given Nate, they had a friendship, a baggie of weapons, He-Man pre-production weapons, not modeled in the original tones. And I would show you the He-Man sword right now, but I actually sent it into CAS, which is a grading company, to have it encased. And I just want it for display purposes and for the provenance too. It looks nice, has a little sticker on it. My whole video shows the conversations between Nate and even Ted, because I had reached out to Ted and said, hey, did you give something to Nate all those years ago? And he goes, can I see a picture? And I showed him the picture of the power sword and a picture of a baggie with multiple weapons in, because that's what Nate gave Hatch. I know I'm going back and forth, trying to keep the story straight. And sure enough, the excitement was in the video. Ted came back and said, yep, those were pre-production samples made in the model shop during pre-production for the Masters of the Universe line. I'm like, wow. Well, anyway, why I'm retelling a story that you may or may not have already heard is Hatch reached out to me and asked me if I was interested in the lone piece that he had. He had a baggie of multiple weapons. He had, traded, sold, gave out all of them, including the power sword, to me. And then, he got a box with this, with now this. He gave me plenty of time to tell the story, apparently. Thank you, Hatch. He reached out a week or so ago and said, I got Merman's sword last, and would you be interested in owning it? I'm like, absolutely, and we worked it out. And sure enough, it arrived in my P.O. box. So I'm too paranoid to ever give out my real address, especially when I post all these videos and you guys see my collection and I have like one-of-a-kind things that belong in like the Smithsonian. Like this should belong in the Smithsonian Museum. This is a freaking... Oh, I'm so happy to own it. So I don't want... Say I have 1,000 people watch this thing. chances are out of that 1,000, there might be 3 like super crazy people that don't give a what and want to try to rob me. So I try to protect. And I have sentry guns, alarm systems, loaded to the teeth. My wife knows how to shoot. Check it out. Merman's sword. It's so cool, even touching it, owning this piece. Before they were mass produced, I mean, I don't know I'm not going to pretend to be the expert on how they do it. I know they mold it maybe with clay and then make a negative of it and make 2 halves over it and then take the negative and pour some type of plaster. I don't know. I'm making these fuzzy knowledge. But this was one of those pieces in the many little steps from conceptual drawings to models. I mean, this could be one of the early models. I don't even know what. Yeah, it's rough. It looks like this could be made of clay. I don't even want to. It's a little pliable, bendable. And then you got some gray pieces that look to be stuck from something. Maybe the mold of it. I don't know. But in my hand, something that there's no other ones of these in existence, and I've been collecting for a long time. And pre-production, prototype, original He-Man things, they don't come up. They don't. Yeah, you can find 2000X stuff and modern stuff, but the original 80s He-Man line, they don't come up. And I'm a big G.I. Joe collector myself. I have a number of pre-production things, but G.I. Joe had way more figures, way more characters, and some of those things survived more so than the Masters of the Universe line. So got the He-Man sword, and now I got Merman's sword. I'll probably hang on to it until I at least get the He-Man sword back graded, and then I'll decide if I'm going to send this in graded or what I'm going to do, because it's obviously a special piece. You can't go on the internet and buy something like this. And again, part of the reason I'm recording this is telling this story, having the provenance, and I'll probably link this video under the YouTube video that I made 6 months ago. So years from now, if I ever decide to sell, the history, my words are, my reputation's worth more than any amount of money. And sure, you can go on eBay and they'll be like, this pencil was used to draw the original Star Wars characters conceptualized back and blah, blah, blah. People can say what they want, especially when they're talking about some, just some random eBay person. And there are fakes out there, especially in the pre-production prototype communities. And I am not going to lay my reputation on the line if I'm not 100% sure. And this, I'm 100% sure. And I walked it back from the provenance of the He-Man sword, and this came in the same lot because this was in the exact same baggie that you can see with the He-Man sword that was sent to Ted Meyer, who confirmed through Facebook Messenger that, in fact, they were pre-production samples from the model shop, in his quote words. I sent him the YouTube video later on after it, and he said he got a kick out of it and enjoyed it. But yeah, it's neat. Just holding a piece of history. I'm a sucker for that. I used to collect antiques, and I just like holding things that I knew was from 100 years ago and a different way of life. And it's similar to these, something that was made by the millions, but this was the seed. This was the process right in the beginning before it took off. See you guys. Keep on collecting. You get to my stage, And you've owned every single thing, so now you start hunting for the unicorns, the ones that are the impossibles. I'm glad I got an impossible here. So thank you, Hatch. Thank you, Nate. And thank you, Ted. Appreciate it. See you guys.